Good evening, everybody. My co-chair, Dr. Rafla Tejdelaji, Dr. Hus Hongtao, my sister, Her Excellency Ms. Lindwe Zulu, the international community present here today, our partners, the technical people, our great South-South leaders present here today. I wish to take this opportunity on behalf of this August gathering and the whole fraternity of the South-South engagement to thank us all for being here to look at issues that have been a matter of discussion for the last 2 or 3 decades. Today we are renewing our commitment as we move towards Nairobi. And that is, we are looking at the international conference that is coming there, as well as trying to fulfill our commitments in moving the agenda of PPD, UNFPA, population issues to the right process. What I can capture from the discussions in the last few days is quite great, and that is the South-South cooperation has to be strengthened. The Ashes commitment, we have to renew our commitment to that. That's the crux of the matter. A lot of work has been done, and we want to validate and recognize all the efforts that were done in the past. But we are moving towards a greater and more innovative approach by now looking at the South-South cooperation as to how are we going to leverage ourselves together to learn how to learn from each other, support each other, and move this process further. It is therefore important for the South-South cooperation, and in this process, we want to look at the achievements of the SSC, the achievements of the PPD and the SDGs in the context of South-South cooperation, and also how do we create or strengthen the centers of excellence in moving forward. Leveraging resources, a lot of issues have been said. The commitment and the document that has just been talked about, resources is another key issue that needs to be considered. And I want to call this our countries to be ready to commit resources on population matters. Most of our countries do not give specific budgets. Very few of them do. But no matter how small, once you provide resources, no matter how small, then support can come from elsewhere to fulfill the remaining aspects. So let us start by committing resources, no matter how small it is. Then we know that things will happen. We talked about capacity building. The issue of capacity building, it was an issue that came up. And also, there are so many conferences that have taken place, and what we are now going to do is culminating to another one that is going to give us direction in terms of the strategic issues that we have discussed. And also to fulfill the commitment, we must try to look at what are some of the important things that needs to be dealt with. And I think this commitment document has shown that is what is going to lead us to Nairobi. Nairobi is going to be a very important process for all of us, and I believe that we should put in our energies, we should put in our efforts, see how best we are going to make sure that Nairobi becomes a fulfilling thing as we celebrate the SDGs, the ICPD 25, as well as the UNFPA existence and all the other things that we have been doing for the last 25 or more years in Nairobi. On that note, I also want to express appreciation to our partners, China taking up a great leadership in this, supporting, working together. When I heard the story of the leader yesterday, the minister, the lady, when she talked about my colleague, I was really impressed. They started from nowhere, and it is great to accept and acknowledge your weakness. Then that's when you begin to address change. They started from nowhere, from a closed society, unprogressive, to a now more open society, to a progress society. We all started somewhere, and that's how it is. Africa was considered the dark continent, a continent that had no hopes. But we all know that now all roads lead to Africa. And if all roads lead to Africa, we must acknowledge our weaknesses and say we are getting out of that shackle of darkness to move forward. And I think this is one of the key issues that this commitment and the road to Nairobi should show. So this is something that I think we should appreciate very much. I also want to thank the UN agencies, our international development partners, who also have been working with us for a very long time on these matters and have actually moved from one step to another for us to build up on this current situation. We want to thank you to understand that we are together. The road to South-South cooperation cannot be done in isolation without some of our partners. We need each other to move the world. We need each other to strengthen each other, and we need to move towards the direction of unity of purpose and direction to move the country. There were key issues that were brought in terms of peer review. I think it's a very good mechanism in terms of creating accountability of our progress on issues that we have ourselves committed ourselves in order to be able to use the results that are coming out of it as best practices. And also, it will also raise the consciousness of those countries that are just accepting papers and not acting on them. For me, this is about making things happen. We've done a lot of talk, we've done a lot of advocacy. Now we want to go beyond that. We want to make things happen. And I think a lot needs to be done, but I am also proud to say here that a lot has been done also, because we've broken the taboo of silence over reproductive health matters, over issues of population, and there are lots of, the future is bright. But we have to be committed to make it happen. We must involve the key actors, the critical actors, women, young people. Everybody is involved. There are differential impact of population issues, reproductive health and reproductive right matters. It has its gender impact, and therefore we must take note of that. Women have a critical role to play. We have to look at the best practices, sharing these practices, learning from the others. Technology plays a very key issue, and I want to tell you that it doesn't matter whether you can read or write. It's a question of pushing the button and understanding the architecture of the material, the phone, to be able to access your family planning pills, or to ask for questions, or to say, I want to visit the antenatal clinic, or I want to do this or that. So technology is very key, and we must try to adapt it. That's where the innovation comes in terms of where we go. So therefore, it's going to play a very central part in dealing with this. GBV is related to population issues. If you look at the demography and you look at the causal factors and the interrelationships between gender-based violence or domestic violence vis-a-vis population issues, you will know that they are intrinsically linked, and therefore it should be a focus. Gender violence is also part of the population issue, and a lot of women are suffering. A lot of women are in crisis because of the issues that may come, depending on how you see population and how you see family planning, how you see reproductive health, reproductive rights in what we do on a daily basis. The high fertility rate, of course, was the entry point. Why was the world rising? Because of the numbers. If we go into the history of population matters, it was the reason why people were introducing all sorts of things. But now we are giving it a human face. We are giving it an innovative approach in trying to understand. But still, in most of our countries, this contraceptive prevalence rate is still very high, is very low. Many of our countries, Gambia is about 8 or 9%, if I get it right. Some others are even less. So what is the impact? We have to change our behavior. Male involvement is very critical in this. We need to pay attention to those things. We need to empower the women. We need to give the right information. We need to mobilize, organize, and look at our various cultural contexts that actually perpetuate and deny women and young people their rights to reproductive health and reproductive rights. So these are issues that have come around these days, and I think this commitment document is very key. We all go back home. The reason why we thought it should be a consensus is quite clear that this is a consensus. We have all, it was moved by Nigeria to be adopted, Gambia second, but everybody was part of the process. And I believe that we are going back, getting ready for Nairobi in this process, and to also commit our governments. Let us organize big and cry loud. We will be able to deal with the challenges that we are facing. Some of these reservations are because we are not organized. The power of organization, the power of galvanizing yourselves and leveraging those numbers and the voices and bringing the people who matter in those type of gatherings are very, very important in making sure that we have the global impact on what we want. We can move it, we can do it. And I want to assure you that we are here at policy level I am very pleased to be associated with this, and I want to take this opportunity also to thank the government of Tunisia and to wish them a very lucky and very successful elections, as I might have heard, and also to wish you good luck. Peace is important if we want to have a number of these types. Peace is very key if we want to succeed. Peace is very important if we want to move the world forward, because it's only through peace that we will have time for each other. On that note, I wish to thank you all for the opportunity given to me to preside over some of these important issues, but also it resonates with what I have been doing for many years, and today I am very pleased to stand here before you, to give you my voice, to give you my strength, and to influence my fellow leaders to be able to support this process, because it's key for Africa if all roads lead to Nairobi. Thank you very much.